Hey, all, welcome to my channel. For those of you who haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'm stating it early on, but anyways, today's topic basically, it's not in my realm to talk about it, but since the trade happened, Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic on the Dallas Mavericks, and where the Dallas Mavericks are at this point. I mean, honestly, it's to a point where like since the trade has happened, with Kyrie Irving, they're 7-13. I mean, initially they were doing decent. Like I think they won the first two games, but then after that, they've just been losing basically. And yesterday's loss was a disheartening loss for Doncic to the point of like he actually went publicly. Very rare for my well, not rare, but more of a case where like you could see his frustrations out in the court and all that stuff. And now the fact that he's now airing it out in public, it's another aspect as well too. I think it's something that he's not familiar with, and as far as this much losing, but also at the same time, it's to the point where like it doesn't seem like he's handling it really well as well too. I mean, honestly, Sunday's game, they were 30. Irving was like 33% from the field with 18 points, and like I think Doncic was expecting more at this, but I think it's more of a case like there's a case of like them having to work out their elements, how they work with each other at that point. I don't think it was going to be an immediate gelling between the two stars. I mean, in the last 10 games alone, they're 3-7 basically, and with with only 7 games remaining, they're like 1 game behind for the play-in, and 2.5 games in for a guaranteed spot. They got the 10th worst record in the league basically, and one of the things is basically if they don't fall into the top 10 in the 2023 draft, that draft pick then goes to the Knicks, which as a Knicks fan, I'm happy about anyways. But to the point, everyone's now looking at this trade basically to the point where, like the Mavs went all in with practically all in with the Kyrie Irving trade basically because the fact was is they realized letting Jalen Brunson go to the Knicks, which is turning out to be a really good signing for the Knicks and a steal in a ways too. That he was a semi backbone to the Dallas Mavericks as well too. It wasn't just Doncic; it was Brunson as well too. And looks like some of their failures in recognizing the talent that they have is impeding them. When they got Doncic, you knew he was a superstar. When they had Porzingis, they got the Porzingis from the Knicks as a result. For that trade, they thought they would have some ability of some, like a sort of Magic Kareem type of thing or a Shaq Penny Hardaway type of thing. Those comparisons are being thrown out a little bit, as well as a little bit more of the Nash and Stoudemire, Amari Stoudemire aspect from the Phoenix Suns back in the glory days. But of course, Porzingis was getting injured and he wasn't living up to his potential, so they traded him away to Washington. Now the Wizards, he's doing really well, and Dallas doing really well without Porzingis, but with having Brunson, they were doing decent enough. But then after. They just let Brunson go because they figured, they could get work with Doncic and work around Doncic with whatever they need and get it off the draft picks, using drafts and such and maybe signings as well too. But it turns out that turned out to be a bust because it shows that Brunson was a vital cog for this engine to run really smoothly. And because Brunson left, they were just losing. Dallas was losing left and right. I mean, they were in the play-ins for a while, but it was still one of those things where they weren't doing really, and they needed another point guard, another guard basically, and hence the reason why they went for a practically all-in trade for a guy that's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, and they weren't even sure if they're going to get him with Kyrie Irving. So the question is, by getting Kyrie Irving, if Irving is not too thrilled being with the Dallas Mavericks, which most likely he's not, chances are he's probably going to sign with most likely the Lakers to join LeBron. It's a case where it comes down to this: is like who's at fault at this point? Is it Doncic? Is it Irving? Or is it the Mavs front office organization? And it seemed like it was the front office organization because like when they traded Irving away, they traded Dorian Finney-Smith, who is literally their best defender on that team, and you can see that their defense has dramatically decreased to the point where like I think they're like uh, the number eighth in the worst percentage of defense, basically, or no, sorry, sixth in the worst percentage, worst top, the lower six, basically. They're on the lower end of the six of the worst defensive teams out there in the league right now. Uh, so we knew Doncic was not really a good defender. Nor was Irving. So those two together, in the backcourt, you know that people could drive in on them at that point. It's just a matter of like having someone at that point on the post to actually defend it. There was no one there for that. So this is one of the things where like I think Dallas is going to have to reevaluate. Forget this season. Try to, if they can salvage the season, great. But in reality, I don't think they're going to be able to. So more to the point where they might have to like reevaluate how they draft, but also how they sign and re-sign players as well too. Honestly, is it a case where like should they trade Doncic? No, I don't think so, because they got Dirk Nowitzki at the time, and when they got Dirk, he wasn't doing so great. I mean, with the team that was surrounding him, but then eventually when they got Jason Kidd and such and others to the point where like trading Nash, unfortunately, which was might have been a bad move on their part, but it turned out to be good for on both ends. This turned out to be a case where then they started around the proper players with Nowitzki. So in this case with Doncic, it's a matter of surrounding him with good players, good enough players to the point where like they can get you to the playoffs, and then maybe lure that superstar in to help bring the Mavericks back into the playoffs. I mean, back into the finals at that point. But the real question is what happens with Irving? Irving, do you think he's going to stay? I honestly don't think he's going to stay. I think it's more of a case like I think from the fans' perspectives of Dallas, they're giving the brunt of their frustrations onto Irving because how much the Dallas Mavericks traded for Irving and he's not producing. It's a question of, is this a case where like should it be Irving's fault? I don't entirely think so in this situation because the thing is like, yeah, you saw what happened when he was in Celtics. He just was not that great with the Nets. Didn't do so well. I think everyone should have anticipated this is Irving. This is what it is. You're getting this is how you're getting him basically. He's going to come in, disrupt a little bit and also play a ball, of course, but he's also going to be disruptive within the team itself as well as the team dynamic. So don't be you can't be surprised about this. And if it's a case where like he's trying to play that player and he's taking some of the brunt himself, but the thing is, let's not forget, he hasn't played in a lot of these games. So because of injuries and such. So if it was because of that, you can't put the blame on him entirely. It's more of a case where like you got to put it on the Mavs front office. So I think after this year, if I'm the Mavs, I don't sign Irving, don't re-sign him. Just try to see if you can build around Doncic by getting some players here and there, role players here and there, and as well as maybe luring another superstar down the line. That's more of a front man, a big man, more than on the backcourt. Because I think everyone's trying to repeat the whole. I'm going from the Knicks days, basically, of the Clyde Frazier and Earl the Pearl Monroe. And those days were like, 2 point guards, like they can't really work together, but they actually did and worked really well that they went to the, playoffs and such. So I think in this situation, I think people are trying to replicate that in that aspect as well, too. I mean, honestly, it's the same thing with like, the whole aspect of like, the Dwayne Wade, LeBron, and Bosh situation where like, these were all primary scorers. But I think they all realized and took a step back and they realized, okay, if you can't do it, I'll handle it that one at this point and so forth, basically. And I think that's what everyone's trying to do at this point, honestly. So it's more of a case where like you've got to determine what to do at this point. It's the same thing with the Golden State Clippers, honestly. I think the fact they're doing really well at home, but at the same time on the road they suck. It comes down to their defense as well too. I mean, it seems like Draymond Green, that whole fiasco with him and Poole, that fiasco I think has taken aback Draymond Green what he should be because usually Draymond Green, being Draymond Green, if you're not doing defensively, he'll get in your face. But I think he took a step back and it was like he doesn't want to ruffle any more feathers. I think others have said like, hey, you got to cool it. But in reality, that shouldn't have been his nature because of this situation. Draymond Green, he could have gotten in front of everyone's like, what the hell? Like, we're not playing defense. I'm like, getting everyone says you got to close the lanes so they don't drive. You got to get closer to do that. And that's why you're seeing their defense not doing so really well. And that's why Golden State's having this issue. I think they need that leadership quality. And like Steph is not that great of a defensive player, to be quite honest. And it's more because like Steph should be getting everyone's faces because he is the team leader, but he's not. And that's where Draymond Green came into play as well too at that point. So that's a big thing as well too. But coming back to the Mavericks themselves, basically, it's this case of like with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Luka is going to be frustrated. I don't think he's ever been in this case of a losing situation. Let's see how he reacts I mean, actually, we're seeing how he reacts right now, but let's see how he reacts if it's another losing season at this point. Because honestly, there should be another case of another losing season. Because Porzingis, when he was with the Knicks were pretty much trying to tank to get a superstar, and I think Porzingis was pissed off, and like he's like trade me basically, and like he didn't do really well, and that's where the reason why he was trading to the Mavs at that point, and the Mavs like, hey, we thought they got someone in return that was really good, but in reality, he didn't do so well because of the injury-prone aspects, and I think the Knicks went out in that deal. It looks like the Knicks went out in that deal, and long-term wise, it's possible the Nets have won the trade with the Kyrie Irving for the draft picks and such, and Fournette Smith trade basically because Finney Smith, because it's one of those things where if Irving leaves Dallas at the end of the season for free agency, and Dallas gets nothing in return, it's a complete muck up on their part, and it's a complete blow up to the point of I think Cuban's probably gonna like start reevaluating the front office and like it's like their talent scouts as well, and as well as the GM aspect, and like says what, maybe it's time to rebuild from the top down basically, and then rebuild around Luka. I mean, honestly, let's not forget with the Bulls, Collins was the coach for Jordan. They always got into the playoffs, but they weren't surrounding him enough with enough the players that he needed. Jackson came along and he showed how it could be done basically. So with that, it changed the whole dynamics of the Bulls at that point, and and the fact that Krause was able to get few players here and there, but I think to the point where Phil Jackson was able to work around it. Now the real question is Jason Kidd the right coach for this team? That's the real question. Is Kidd the right coach for this team? It sounds like he should be, but at the same time it might not be, because I don't think he knows how to deal with two different guards of two different personalities. I think the person that should come onto this team, that should be the next coach, if he's not going to be with this team, and that's Doc Rivers. If he's not going to be with the Philadelphia 76ers, if I'm the Mavericks, I try and land Doc Rivers. If it's not Doc Rivers, then you go for someone else that like maybe a Stan Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy probably makes more sense in this point to bring on to Dallas. Even though he was one of the coaches back then, I think this is the time where you could bring him back, and he might be able to lead Luka into what he needs to go and do basically at this point. Because it's definitely a point where Jason Kidd should not be. I mean, Jason Kidd is a coach, but I think he's not the ideal coach for the Dallas Mavericks. If anything, he's probably the ideal coach for the. I hate to say it, but probably he's the ideal coach for the Oakland Thunder, to be quite honest. He makes perfect sense for the Oakland Thunder, and even possibly even the Toronto Raptors, more than anyone else. I mean, sometimes former point guards do make good coaches, but point guards that are good defensively as well too, because sometimes they're too offensive minded. They're not focusing on the defense. I mean, like Pat Riley showed with the Knicks, and Chuck Daly and such. Everyone knew that you have really good defense, it will get you far. If you don't have that defense in place and it's just your purely offense, sometimes you're gonna have off nights on offense, and teams will just blow you out, and you can't recover from that. But if you can keep them within the game, that it's still to the point where to the point where if you can take the game down the line in the fourth quarter, if the game is kept close up until till the tail end of the fourth quarter, you can probably still have those shots in place and win off of that. Basically, that's only if your defense is good enough. At least make it competitive enough as well too for your fans as well too, for that matter too. But with that, I'll just leave it at that. I mean, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Of course, I do read my comments. Please leave them in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think the Dallas Mavericks lost out on the trade? Do you think the Nets won this trade? At this point, do you think Kyrie Irving is going to be with the Mavericks next year? And also the other thing is basically, who do you think is at fault at this point right now? Is it Luka Doncic? Is it Kyrie Irving? Is it Jason Kidd? Or is it the front office basically that's at fault for where the state of the Mavericks are at right now? And the other thing is do you think Kyrie Irving should be retained? If they can, what do the Mavericks do to try and keep him? But at that same time, do you think let's say if Irving and Luka are around, should Kidd stay around as the coach? Because do you think Kidd can actually manage these two personalities? Let me know your thoughts on that. And also, Again, these are my thoughts, my opinions. It's something I'm starting out anew, basically. So please let me know your thoughts about this. And like, as far as like, I appreciate the feedback, and also with always, uh, I would love to like eventually converse with some of the people as well too that are giving me the feedback, and going talking back and forth, like kind of creating a sort of group chat type of thing for others to witness, as also chime in as well too. And at the same time, it's a case where like I would love to grow this channel at this point as well too, quite honest. I mean, I think everyone wants to grow this channel. Again, this is me just ranting off and such. But outside of that, if you do enjoy my channel, or you think there's more to it as well too, again, please, if you haven't, please subscribe. It'd be great too. And as more subscribers come in, I will do some more live streaming at that point. And like, I was at an Islanders game with the Anaheim Ducks. I didn't get a chance to live stream it because why? My device didn't have that ability because I didn't meet the criteria just yet. So it would be great if I could get the criteria to live stream at that point as well too, from wherever I'm at. And also at the same time, is like I did make a resolution once a week to live stream something once a week. Sometimes unfortunately I have to live stream through my laptop. I'd rather live stream through my device so that where I'm at, I can live stream from that, and people can actually see where I'm at as well too. But quite honestly, let's put it this way. If you haven't subscribed, again, like I said, please subscribe. It doesn't hurt. Why not? If you enjoy my content, you don't have to put the notification on. I don't think my content is super notifiably worthy to be where if I put something up, he's like, hey, immediately look at it. It's something probably you could look in your feed down the line, basically, and check me out, basically, at that point. And of course, as I grow my channel, as I grow this, I will try to start putting up stats and such. I'm still learning OBS and such to the point where like I'm not a complete expert in this right now. So please bear with me, of course. And as I get better, and I only get better with feedback, of course. So that's why I ask you to please leave your comments in the comment section as well too. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed. Until next time.